The Second World War was the most destructive conflict in human history. While it was a global conflict, the majority of those who lost their lives were European. By the time Germany surrendered in May 1945, the continent was in ruins. Tens of millions were dead, and tens of millions more injured, disabled, or uprooted. Europe's economies were gravely damaged, and millions of its people faced homelessness, malnutrition, or worse. Europe's political systems had been shaken, and in many places destroyed. Democratic government had been crushed across most of the continent. Millions of people were in uniform, occupying countries not their own, and millions more found themselves in prisoner of war camps. The prospects for post-war Europe looked bleak, and Europeans had somehow to dig themselves out of a hole of unprecedented depth. A quarter of a century later, the European continent presented a very different picture. Its economies had recovered and grown phenomenally, and Europe appeared generally to be politically stable, albeit divided by the Cold War. Democratic government had been re-established or established in Western Europe, then in Southern Europe. Europe's inhabitants were, for the most part, well-housed and well-fed, and generally enjoyed a physically secure existence and the benefits of a developed welfare state. Then, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, the political, military, and economic division of the continent ended, as the eastern half of the continent experienced political and economic revolution. The framework that had taken shape in the aftermath of the Second World War disintegrated, and a new chapter in Europe's history had begun. Europe's post-war was an age of optimism. After the tsunami of violence during the first half of the 20th century, an armed peace descended on the continent. After the economic stagnation and catastrophic depression of the interwar period, the continent enjoyed unprecedented economic growth that, for a short period of time, seemed might continue forever. In a rather shabby iteration, parallel beliefs held sway in the eastern half of the continent, where self-styled victors of history were committed to creating a socialist utopia on the ruins left by fascism and war. Although the 1950s and 1960s witnessed a succession of political and economic crises, many people nevertheless could believe that a brave new world was unfolding.